That's amazing. That's impressive, especially the squat. Especially the squat. The fact that you could still squat. Deadlift, I more so understand, but 2 children and you still squatted 225. And maybe, I don't know, everyone has like their strengths, right? As far as like fitness movements goes, but squats have always been my nemesis. So some background information, some lore about my fitness journey, or just my physiological journey. I was born with like pretty almost completely inverted legs, so internally rotated. That's I had a significant internal rotation because of how I sat in the womb. I guess like I held my legs in like a crisscross, and I had to go to physical therapy at like 2-3 years old. My mom declined the surgical option that they were like, it was experimental, like it was a whole thing. She was, I'm not going to do that to my toddler. That's like so brutal. And I'm really super fucking thankful that she didn't do that. That sounds awful. I'm a firm believer in surgery being the absolute last resort, which maybe I might, if I don't take care of myself, if I don't do all the things that I know I'm supposed to do here in my youth, when I'm older, there's a good possibility of hip replacement surgeries and all those things, just because of these problems that I've had my whole life. But that's like a big part of what kickstarted a lot of my fitness journey. You know, I always did sports. I was a swimmer for a very long time, and I could never do the butterfly or the breaststroke. It just caused a lot of pain in my hips. The movement wasn't comfortable, and it seemed impossible to train or strengthen that movement pattern. And so then I did volleyball. For a variety of reasons, I changed sports. My hips have nothing to do with why I changed sports, but in reflection, I noticed why I had all these problems, I guess. So then I did volleyball, and I had a really hard time like getting low, which you really need to do in volleyball. I had a hard time with that squat movement and just maintaining strength in that motor planning. Like, it was just not comfortable. And so like everything, right? I struggled with all of it, and no one seemed to really help me until I started weight training. I started doing kickboxing. I started doing a few other things just to stay fit, because I've always been an active person. I was like, well, I'm aging out of sports. Like, I'm not talented enough for these high school, college teams and this and that, but I want to stay active, blah, blah, blah. So I started kickboxing, started weight training, and again, struggled with a lot of movements, was starting to work on just more, I guess, mobility, more flexibility with things. And then I started more powerlifting through meeting Kirk, which is one of my homies. And he started helping me. He's a strength and conditioning coach. He's a teacher. He's a gym teacher back in my hometown. But he went to school for strength and conditioning. He's one of the most intelligent people I know about just physiology and strength and conditioning training. It's definitely his wheelhouse of stuff. And then also my friend Riley, he's taught me a lot too. And my husband and I've had a lot of coaches in my life as I started this powerlifting journey, but Kirk started it. And he really gave me a whole lot of background information on how to like heal my hips, just for better movement pattern. And so I went from, settling to having better mobility to now where I'm at after my powerlifting journey. And now I'm in this calisthenic journey. It's just crazy to me how many layers there are to this core deficit that I have in my root chakra and or my womb as like a feminine. So there's like the spiritual aspect to it, which I think is just interesting. I think it's just interesting to know what it means is up to a variety of spiritual theories. But generally speaking, hold on. Sorry, I don't know where the fuck I was, but, so through powerlifting, like, I reached a new level where, like, again, I was able to squat, like, to depth and with, like, strength, but I still struggle with, like, sumo deadlift and all of the above. And so anyway, like, after I won my powerlifting meet, I'm long-winded. So anyway, after like I won my powerlifting meet and I achieved this other level of just like physical fitness goals. I was just so stoked. And then I just like wanted something more, which I've talked about in other videos. But what is significant, like I guess my whole point, on top of like the hip issues that I've had, and over the last 3 years, so I won my powerlifting competition in 2021. And then after that, it was like sporadic workouts for a couple months. And then 2022, I worked out maybe twice a week, but I was still like weight training. And then towards the end of 22, it got to where I did nothing. And then 2023, I did nothing. And I mean nothing. Like I had like 2 or 3 workouts. Maybe over the whole year of 23, I did a total of 10. And that's if you want to include certain like yoga meditations that I did. But I went from being someone who worked out 4 to 6 days a week to nothing. And I did a lot of sleeping. So you talk about like having children, which is a whole other trauma in itself. And like that, like your whole thing is so impressive. For me, what I was really proud of is I did a lot of sleep, and I lost, I think, a total of 40 pounds. So I went from being 155, like my goal was 160. I competed at 69 kilograms, which I believe is 152. And so I went from 155, like down to, it was like 110. Like I super lost a lot of weight. I was naturally fasting, like just like where my path had led me. It was a lot of sleep. It was fasting. I was kind of, decaying. Like I felt like I died. I was buried, and I was just, excuse me. I was just decaying, and I don't know. It was just so weird. No matter how much I wanted to move, I couldn't move. I just couldn't get back into it. And the more I tried, the worse it was. And I just kept getting beaten down. It's like, no, rest. So, and then 24 was incredibly chaotic. I really didn't do hardly any workouts through 2024. Towards the end of 24, when we moved to Nashville, I started working out again. And it was so sporadic, but like weight training. Okay, I haven't lifted more than 135, well, I did 150 pounds a couple months ago, but that's jumping ahead. So I hadn't done more than 135 pounds for like one or two reps. I was mainly doing singles, to ease myself back into it every time I started over. But I just really wasn't touching a lot of weight. I was doing a lot more like just stretching, kind of, or like cardio based. Like I go for a lot of walks. It was a whole, I think, transformation thing, because my relationship to powerlifting and fitness was changing, especially after I won, and I gained all that weight. I went from being like a solid 120 to 150 pounds, and it wasn't solid. It just like, it didn't fit my frame. So then I lost all the weight. It was just, it was all of this like recalibration. And so for me, that deadlift, that I posted, is because I was kind of seeing where I was. I have a whole new fitness plan. I've done like 6 weeks of pure like calisthenic based workouts, functional mobility based workouts, no weight training whatsoever, maybe a resistance band here or there just for some help, for positioning and stuff like that, but not really for the resistance side of it. And so all of this to say that 205 pounds that I did a single of, that was to see what my like 90 to 100% would be where I am right now after 3 years of this roller coaster journey of pretty much sleeping and resting and recovering and healing and all of the above. And so I wanted to see where I was, so I knew where to build my new program with my new fitness goals. And I was able to do 205 deadlift. I'm not squatting with like weight on a bar like for this next leg of my journey. I'm doing other mobility hip things. I would love to know where I could squat. Honestly, I probably would be stuck at like 135 with a squat. I would be terrified to do more than that based off of where I know my hips are. But yeah, it's crazy how resilient your body can be.